Hey, it's Khalil with the Cashflow Contractor. Thanks for listening and tuning in. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, now's a great time to do it. If you are interested in building your construction business to be profitable and to run without you so you can have less stress, more time, and more money, we want to send you more content that can help you do that. I talk to contractors all the time who listen while they're driving from job site to job site, while they're taking care of stuff in the office or at home. And it's a great podcast for them because it gives them actual ideas and strategies they can use inside their business in a conversational format with two goobers like me and Martin. So if you're interested in that, you want more strategies to help you grow and improve your business, subscribe now. Now, let's get into the show. How do you let go of an employee when it's really hard to find employees?
Pull the Band-Aid off, rip it off and get after it.
But they've been so good for us. We wouldn't be where we are without them.
Brian Tracy on that. He said your values reveal what you will tolerate. Or, more importantly, they show immediately what you won't tolerate.
Today's episode is sponsored by OpenPhone. It's the perfect business phone system for contractors that you can manage just from your cell phone. If you're interested in hearing more about OpenPhone, check out the show notes to get an offer directly from them. The link is right here, and you'll find it down the show notes. Thanks for checking out today's episode, brought to you by OpenPhone.
Expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cashflow Contractor.
All right, Martin. So how do you let go of an employee when it's really hard to find employees and the employees basically have the leverage and you don't want to go through the process of finding another person? Like, what's the best advice? How do you go through this?
Oh, man. Well, in my opinion, the best advice I have is pull the Band-Aid off, rip it off and get after it. Generally speaking, it's not as hard to replace, it's not going to be as difficult as you think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one bit of advice. I'll let you vote on which one you prefer. The second one is play it really, really smart. You know that person's out of here, but you're not going to get rid of them until you've found their replacement.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, but that kind of
Which one?
goes against something that we believe, that if you do lose somebody, don't hire back, because see if you can do it
Right.
without them, right? To reduce the overhead costs.
Yeah.
But obviously
you're-
there's critical roles where it's like, no, like we won't function if this person's not here.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes enough people to do it. But I think our role is to try to simplify things for our listeners.
Yeah.
And we've simplicated things. We took three simple things and gave choices.
Okay. So we did an episode, please don't go back and listen to it, listeners, episode 59, when you know they need to go, which is kind of in line with this topic. That was, I believe, before we were really doing video podcasts.
Yeah.
So
Did you say don't go back?
yeah, I don't know what the quality of it is.
Well,
Just
hey,
this replaces that episode. So I think let's set the stage, right? You have, the situation you were talking to me about is a little bit interesting because it's not just one person. And so I think that's maybe a different topic. But let's say it is just one person. What are the consequences of keeping that person around longer? Why do you say keep the Band-Aid or rip the Band-Aid off?
because you're suffering 80% likelihood that the subject employee is suffering.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I've let people go who were absolutely blindsided. And I've been talking to them, trying to correct their action for almost a year. And when I finally pulled the trigger, really didn't have any clue. It was like, seriously? But I forgot how'd you phrase your question?
No.
How do you decide?
Yeah. Why do you think they should rip the Band-Aid rather than?
As opposed to, letting things drag out is, what's the benefit of letting things drag out? I don't see one. what's
It
the
could change.
damage
Like
is
it could get better. It's
that the
a
person
rough
could
season
change.
right now. I don't know if we're going to be able to find a replacement, right?
I wish I'd printed off that article because I had a whole lot of reasons that we don't let people go, and I may miss some if I think about it. The general overall thing is, what is the benefit of waiting? If it's that you think they'll change, the preponderance of the evidence says no, they won't. That's just my experience, my reading experience. Man, we're going to have on from the Gallup organization did a study on that, and so you're letting it drag out. It's occupying your mind. Perhaps it rises to the place that you're staying awake a few nights out of the week. You're suffering, and you're not replacing. You've still got a square wheel out there. So you've got to get a round wheel on there and improve things.
But they've been so good for us.
So
Like we wouldn't be where we are without them.
well, if that's true, what do you consider letting them go for? Did they suddenly get bad, or is it everybody just likes them?
Yeah.
We've also talked recently about getting overhead down, which you referred to. If somebody leaves, don't replace them right away. Well, if you've got somebody around whose principal role is to entertain everybody and be the good guy, you might start looking at the money you're not making.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think really helpful book for me with this is called not unnecessary. It's called Necessary.
Yeah.
And there's seasonality to some of this. We wouldn't be where we are without them. That's wonderful. But you were in a different season before where you are today. You're triple the size you were whenever they started, right? Your business has different needs at this point, and you're carrying dead weight, right? That's a really good thing to understand, that there's seasonality to some of this stuff. I think nothing will, what's the phrase you say? Nothing will make you lose a good employee than tolerating.
Yeah.
Nothing
will ruin a good employee faster than watching you tolerate a bad employee.
There you go. Much, much better said. I think also,
I'm quoting somebody, I just don't know who.
Anonymous. With that, you're ruining your culture by tolerating by tolerating the employee. If you notice it as the owner, and you probably have minimal interaction compared to some of your team members with this person, everyone else notices it too. You're not alone, right? And I think that if you don't rip off the Band-Aid, maybe you're letting a wound fester and get infected underneath the Band-Aid because it's staying on too long, right? You just got to rip it off so that you can actually treat what's the illness underneath there. I think Mike Andes, we just had on the podcast, he has a really great point about culture. Like, you set your culture by how you fire, right? It's not all the great things that you do and the values you have and behaviors. It's what you don't tolerate that sets your culture, right? Yeah. And by you tolerating this person staying on and staying around, you're setting the standards for your culture.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is Brian Tracy on that. He said, your values reveal what you will tolerate. Or, more importantly, they show immediately what you won't tolerate. And that's pretty insightful.
Quick ad break to tell you about Growth Kits. This is actually my company, and you may have seen it around, but I started Growth Kits because I kept seeing contractors struggle with the same problems over and over again. They were trying to be better organized inside of their business, but kept drowning in the day-to-day operations. So whether you need a better CRM, a hiring process that actually works, or you just want to make sense of the tech stack inside of your business, we have systems that are built specifically for contractors. You can either grab our DIY guides and implement these systems yourself, or you can hire us to work with you on it and implement it for you. No massive consulting fees, no year-long commitments or monthly retainers. Just pick what you need right now and let's get it done together. Head over to growth-kits.com to see how we can help you construct your success one system at a time. That's growth-kits.com, or just click the link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
There are reasons and I'm dealing with some right in the last 2 weeks, not totally resolved yet. But you know somebody needs to go. There's no doubt about that. You're ready and willing to do it, but you don't. And sometimes there are reasons for that. They may have some special skill, right? Or special information. And it's pretty hard to not value that and just sit there and say, man, how am I going to replace that? What am I going to do? So you leave this cancerous fungus growing over in the corner because of that. There's a fear, I know, literally, that an employee will sabotage you, either on the way out the door or once out the door, call customers, try to draw away some of your key employees, things like that. They have confidential knowledge. I guess maybe that kind of the same as skill, but they know your pricing models. They know uh, the ghost skeletons in your closet, some things you don't want out. Anyway, they just have knowledge from your earlier kind of transgressions of maybe letting them see too much too early.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you sympathize with them. You know, somebody just had a baby, or you hear a lot. And I mean, it's terrible, but from one place I deal with, it comes up a really terrible employee they're keeping on because that employee's mother had breast cancer. Okay. I mean, okay, right? Or you empathize with them, sympathy being different than empathy. You know, you've been there before. You know how, I hate that word hurtful. That's kind of a new age word, but you know how much it hurt. Hurtful's new.
I didn't know that. That's news to me.
Well, that's because you're new too. No, I don't know. Maybe it's not, but it seems to me that it is.
Okay.
But anyway, something you brought up and impacts other people I work with is special skilled people are just not readily available, and you're kind of walking that line of how far do you let the inmates run the asylum, and that inmate asylum metaphor does not apply to my clients. So, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, those are all the reasons that you don't do it, and with very few exceptions, which involve a strategy. I'm keeping this person until I get this done.
Yeah.
In other words, they're using you. You go ahead and use them. But other than that, almost always. And I tell you the other thing, when people look at me, I'm the coach, I'm not the person. And I say, fire them, right? Well, I can be this heartless, unattached person over here because I'm not, I don't know them. I don't have that empathy, sympathy, don't have a history with them, don't know their family, their kids' names, all that stuff. And so it's easy for me to do. But just that idea that I'm telling somebody they're not good enough, somebody that they've got to go somewhere else, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
But like I've said many times, somebody said it first, was everybody has a place on earth. Yours is not here.
Okay. What do you think about performance plans?
Oh, well, I think a performance plan is way before this.
Right.
I mean,
so that's the question. Like, wait, I fire him? Is there not like actions I take before firing? What are those actions?
Well, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. No, I'm presuming that you tried a few things. I said earlier, people don't change. That's the evidence. It doesn't mean that if they haven't been coming in at 8 o'clock, they've been coming in at 10 after, they can't fix that.
Yeah.
Okay, we can fix that. If they have been misfiling something, making mistakes on it, you can fix that. But if the chronic who they are is what doesn't change.
Yeah.
Right. So I think performance improvement plans are a good idea, very specific. We will hear some more about that when we talk to the man from Gallup.
Yeah.
Because I'm not too sure that performance improvement plans, one of the things that they say in Gallup is, this is Gallup, the opinion pollsters who do a lot of research in employees, is that modern employees, i.e., younger employees, are not looking for a boss; they're looking for a coach.
Hmm.
They don't need a performance improvement plan. They need somebody who will coach them. What's the difference? I don't know. We'll find out.
Well,
But they're looking for a coach.
and I actually agree a lot with that. I think that performance plans don't work unless the performance plan is for the manager, if that makes sense. So the manager may want to give the person a performance plan, but really, unless the performance plan relies on you, they're not going to change, right? So maybe they need, like you were never giving them any one-on-one time. Like now schedule 30 minutes on your calendar for one-on-one time with them every single week and see if that improves things, right? You can space it out further if you need to, but that's just an example. Hey, they need feedback because you're not reviewing their work or you're not, checking in to see if they understand how to do something. Like you're the one that needs the performance plan. Otherwise, I don't think they really work. I don't think people change that much. It's either they were unclear on what the expectations were, they don't know how to do what they're doing, they need a little bit more guidance, or they're not going to be a good fit. That's kind of how I see it. Quick ad break. If you're like most contractors I talk to, you're probably drowning in day-to-day operations. I see it time and time again. You're wearing too many hats and there's no way off of the hamster wheel. That's exactly why I put together a free guide. It's called 24 Things You Need to Hire the Perfect Assistant. Now, I put this guide together to help any small business owner delegate over 50% of their current workload and buy back 20 hours of their time. And you may think that's unrealistic, but the most successful contractors I know all have one thing in common: a full-time assistant who helps them run their business. And this guide walks you through everything you need to know about finding and training the perfect assistant, from creating clear expectations all the way to building out the right systems. It's not a fluffy PDF, it's really to the point, but it's still over 35 pages of actual practical steps that you can use right now. I've included templates, examples, and real processes that we use to help other contractors implement the right executive assistant. So the link for this guide is in the show notes. You can click it and download it. It'll be sent right to your email. Now, back to the episode.
We kind of pulled away a little bit. I was thinking when we started out, it was kind of like, why do people delay firing people they know need to go?
Okay, so you've already gone through all this. You know they need to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I made that clear, but that's underlying.
Sure.
I don't want to throw people in the trash. The only thing, trashable offense, not the only one, they can be chronically unable to do the job, but is really a bad set of values that are disruptive, dishonest, lack of engagement, bare minimum, all of those things that really are poison to your organization. Those are ones that maybe you don't have concrete objective reasons to let them go, but you certainly have reasons, and they're very important.
Yeah, you pray for those concrete objective ones. Oh, I wish they would just not show up so I could, fire them. Or I wish they'd, try to steal something or whatever it is, because it makes it so much easier. It's the subjective that's harder.
Yeah, if you, that's one of the things that was in the article, when they need to go. Over the years, I've caught several people stealing from us at the company, and they admitted to it and the whole bit. And it was like, God, I love this. No doubt, no equivocation. No, did I give them a chance? No, did I train them? Get out of here.
Yeah, just done.
Because they stole from you. Yeah, it's like cut and dry.
Well, I'm thinking about a specific instance, and you're familiar with it, but really great person or great role, I would say, in the company, and very, very valuable to the success of the team, but toxic performer or toxic person just in general, terrible communicator, starts issues all over the place with basically anybody they interact with, just gives off a really bad feeling. And in this instance, I think that is somewhat helpful for this owner, of someone who's taking charge a little bit and just saying, hey, we need to do this, this, this. and it's sound advice, but the delivery is just off. And then the delivery and the arrogance is applied to everybody else in the company too. And it's very off-putting. And it's even hurt like the family of the owner in certain sense.
Yeah.
So how do you let that person go? It seems very cut and dry to maybe everybody around you. What are the impacts of keeping that person around? I mean,
Well, Dr. Cloud in Necessary Endings talks about that. He said a lot of times it'll be a salesman
Yeah.
or saleswoman who's really, really good. And the boss is going, man, they bring it. And he likened it to a ship cruising through the ocean with a calm wake or with flotsam and jetsam and turbulence of people jumping overboard. And he said, they have to go.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing for so many of us are concerned with sales and primarily concerned with sales, a lot of us. And you get somebody that's doing really well in sales but they're tearing up your culture. Really hard to make that decision.
Yeah.
That's why he calls it necessary.
Yeah. Necessary endings. You have to look at the long-term view of what's the impact of this, on, in this case, your family, on the rest of your team. Are you actually able to grow? Maybe you're doing really well in this space, but you can't actually get beyond it because no one will stick around, right? Maybe you're doing great in this one area of your business, but the other areas are suffering because, you're not able to actually grow in those areas. Everyone's leaving, or it's just causing issues. You're not able to find the right people in those spaces because of this one person. Yeah, I think that's a really great instance.
We've been talking to employees, but I have a client who came to, two of them actually, came to a coaching session talking about a customer who was just really annoying, really nice customer, but way overstepping, and even played a phone message, supposed to go out there about once a month to do what they do. And she had called in the morning and left a message, please call me back. She'd called at 11 o'clock and said, I called at 9 o'clock and nobody's called me back. Are you guys still in business? And so they decided,
we're done.
We've got to terminate this employee, or not employee,
Customer.
customer. And they did. And really a nice person, just one of these people who has no awareness of anybody else. And anyway, so I had the same agony. You want to do it? No, I don't want to do it. You do it. Okay, I'll do it.
Those are the ones that you refer to your competitors, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You don't fire. You just, hey, you know what? We actually can't service your account anymore, but this is a great company you should work with. That's how you terminate the customer there.
Well, something's going on in the air too, because we've got a lot of this going on the last couple of weeks. People dealing with people who are disruptive, and we're just delaying what to do about it.
Quick ad break to tell you a little bit about OpenPhone. If you're a contractor that has a single cell phone, you're probably inundated with text messages and phone calls, oftentimes that you can't be responsive to or that you can't answer at all. So what's the solution? You can buy another office line with Verizon or AT&T, and you can have an iPhone that is passed around from employee to employee, depending on who's on call. But what if there's a better way? What if there's a way that you can have all your phone calls recorded to go back and listen to later, transcribed with summaries so that you can get a quick glance at what happened during the phone call, and even connect it to your CRM where all your other customer information is? OpenPhone is the perfect solution because it does just that. You're able to add all the users you need to for whoever needs to have access to the lines for your company phone. And then you can also find all of the information you need at a glance with a centralized location for all phone calls and text messages with your customers. Whether it's for marketing, for sales, or for service, OpenPhone is the perfect solution for you and your team. If you're interested, we have an offer down the show notes from OpenPhone. Please click the link down the show notes, or you can see it here on your screen to be able to find more information about OpenPhone. Thanks for listening. Back to the episode. So I want to shift the gears a little bit to talk about it's kind of in the same realm, fear of losing people, but there's just maybe company-wide or department-wide or, a few people that, hey, I really can't lose this many people, right? But there has to be a change in place. I've got to enact change because we're just not hitting metrics. We're not doing what we need to do. We need to, spend, we need to get more billable hours or whatever it is, right? How do we address that change without losing all of our people, right? Especially when it's skilled labor.
Yeah, have that going on in a couple of places right now. Do it strategically. In other words, it's a plan. It depends on what you're changing. That may not be a Band-Aid off deal, because if you're completely changing, you can change the deal with your employees. You absolutely can. But if it's a quantum change, maybe you're changing away from some reason that they came to work for you, then I think you modify you change. When new people come in, it's one step more towards what you want. Next one's another step until eventually that is the norm.
Mhm.
But the best thing to do is get it right the first time.
Yeah.
And you don't have to.
I see this a lot with
And-
just like, for example, like software, right? Hey guys, we have to be using the project management software. You need to be putting in your hours or be putting in your activities. You got to take photos of the work. You need to be responsive on there, whatever it is. And we're going to implement this big change. And you already know who's not going to do it because they don't deal with change well. They've resistant to a variety of different things in the past. But you don't want to lose that person, but you also can't tolerate them because if they're not doing it, then the other people aren't going to do it, right? Like that's where you see a lot of this. And I always think that it's important to bring it back to like the vision and the mission, right? And even your values, but explaining, hey, listen, we're implementing this software because we have a big problem. We have no idea if we're going to make money each month or if we're going to lose money each month. We have no idea if our projects are profitable or not profitable. We don't know what's causing us to make money or lose money on these things. And have found a solution, but it's going to require a behavior change. It's going to require us to be active on these iPads or on our phones way more than we previously have. We're going to have to be much more diligent. We're going to have to be detailed and track the work that we're doing. But if we can do this, it should lead to X, right? It should allow us to serve better customers. It should allow us to be more profitable so that we can have more benefits at this company and we can grow our team, but then we can, fulfill our mission of, whatever it is for your customers, right? And I think if you approach it with coming back to the purpose of all of it, rather than saying, hey, we're using this software, everybody install it on your phones, get going, right? I think you have a better chance at enacting that change, and rather than having to just let people or have people leave you or having to let people go because of those things. That's kind of how my approach would be. I'm not sure if you feel differently or if you have other thoughts on it.
No, I mean, what's persuasive?
Yeah.
If indeed they're persuadable. I've got a situation going with a client right now, been going for a while, has some very technical stuff this person does. This person is probably one of the best in the country at this highly technical thing and has assistants. Well, not assistants. There are people hired to help what she does. I've let out the cat out of the bag, or he or she, let him, what he or she does, but also to train themselves so they can do it in the future without just supporting the boss. Well, they use Asana and a bunch of other technology, and there are very clear instructions. Your role is to do exactly what is in Asana according to the number. Do number 1 first, do number 2 second. If you have a problem, here's how you raise your hand.
Yeah.
But do it in order and do not Well, and that'll suffice but it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
And they don't do it. They do other stuff and they skip steps. And we've been talking about, I said, there have to be two things. This is old school. So we'll see what Gallup has to say about this. It has to be clarity and it has to be consequences. Okay. Clarity is, did you really say do them in sequence in Asana? Don't do anything else until they've done one. Don't do any. Did you really say that? And did they really hear that? Right.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, clarity. And then the consequences are, and this was my suggestion, if they did if they did things that were outside the scope, do not pay them for it.
Mm.
They are paid by the hour they spend on projects. So, and so I don't know. What do you think? That's where I'm coming from.
No,
if it's true,
I think there's too much of a reluctance to give consequences because you're afraid that people are going to leave, right? I'm sure there's also some labor laws that dictate some of that, but like you can't just like not pay someone for something if it goes against labor laws, I'm sure. But
yeah, but it doesn't go against labor laws. They make well above time and a half.
Yeah, as long as they're above the threshold that whatever it is required.
And it's piecework. Yeah, they make way more than that.
Okay, yeah.
Call it bonus pay.
I think you have to put consequences in. It's the same thing as what I said earlier from Mike Andes. Like you set the culture when you fire someone, whenever you uphold standards, essentially, right? And you have to uphold those standards. But it's tough. It's tough to be critical of people like that are very technical, that are experts in their craft, especially when you don't feel like maybe you are as good as them, right? Because then you're like, well, what would I do without that person? Or maybe I'm not seeing it the right way, or I don't know. It's tough. How am I going to replace them? A lot of different thoughts. You mentioned all of those at the front end, but consequences. I think a big one with that though is you do have to uphold the standards yourself. You can't hold someone to a standard and not uphold it yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that's probably the fear of it. How am I going to keep them to that whenever they have so many judgments against me that are warranted? I'm sure that's a big holdback as well. So change yourself too. Well, interesting conversation. Never fun letting people go. What do you think people are going to walk away from this with? What can they walk away with?
Well, I hope what they walk away with is that I mean, a performance improvement plan, might be an irritation, but when somebody needs to go get it done, that's kind of really where we are.
Yeah.
Just don't equivocate, get it done, and get them replaced. You're also keeping them from finding a job where they belong.
Yeah, for sure. You don't worry about their well-being for the future. I mean, it's not good for them to be in a bad place. Like if you were to go bankrupt, they're not in a great place. Otherwise, they need to make some changes, and you're just giving them excuses to not change. So, yeah. Or refer them to your competitor. They can go work there.
Yeah. Hey, I got somebody for you.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, thanks, Martin. Great chatting with you.
You too, sir.
Yeah. See you around. You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory. It's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're going to love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. We'd love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out the Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.